Okay, thank you very much for watching. So this is going to be kind of a long intro, but please bear with me because it is relevant to the context of what I'm trying to say here. So this airs every Thursday night. It's a TV show called Gotham Comedy Live. It's a stand-up comedy, and it airs on AXS TV, which is owned by billionaire Mark Cuban. So you know he's part of the club. And I just want to point out, this is Dave Coulier from Full House, if you remember that TV show. And he's standing in front of this black and white get-up here, black and white behind him, that nice backdrop. There's your Masonic crap, and then there's your Saturn Satan X right behind his head. So you can already tell these guys aren't on our side, all right? And so I came home from work. This airs at 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. I came home from work at 8 o'clock Central Time, right? And at 8:47 Central Time, because I turned on Fox News, at 8:47 Central Time, 9:47 Eastern Time, right? There was that press conference going on saying, okay, this doctor came from Africa or whatever here in New York City. He's tested positive for Ebola, so Ebola is officially in New York City, right? They had that big press conference. So at 8:47, that aired. This show airs at 9 o'clock Central Time. So at 8:47 Central Time, I'm watching this, Ebola is officially in New York, and within 15 minutes, right, about 15 minutes after I'm watching that cussing press conference, this guy comes on here and says this.
It's not going to mess up the broadcast, right? So before we really get moving here into the heart of the show, I just have to ask, does anybody here tonight have Ebola? Because we have, you sir? All right, that's 3 cases we have. Yeah, 40,000 people a year die from the flu. We got 3 Ebola cases. Quarantine the United States. Shut her down. You know what?
Right, and that's funny, because within 15 minutes, they're making jokes about this whole place getting locked down. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. Maybe it's just too soon for me. I don't know, because I don't know what's going on with the Ebola thing. I don't really believe it, to be honest with you. I believe it's a real disease, but it doesn't matter regardless of whether it's real or not. That's the excuse they're going to use to lock down a majority of this country. And I just think it's sad. Everything's it's just funny to them. They should be throwing bottles at that guy. But, whatever. Maybe I'm just, like I said, just too thin-skinned for this stuff. And I just want to point out some things here. I think it was Press Reset Earth. If I'm wrong, please, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure he's the one who pointed this out. I've talked about this too, right? We had this show, The Strain, that came out during the summer, and it aired like in July, I think it was. And the whole show is about this virus outbreak that turned people into like zombie vampires in New York City, featuring the CDC, and it all takes place during a solar eclipse. Well, isn't it funny that the day that this aired too, the press conference, the official report of Ebola in New York City was on the Thursday, October 23rd, which was the day of the solar eclipse. And every time the show came back, because I watched every episode from this season, every time this show came back on from a commercial break, they showed the eclipse. So it's pretty coincidental, don't you think, that a show in New York City featuring the CDC about a virus outbreak during a solar eclipse, it's reported officially that Ebola is in New York City the day of a solar eclipse. And I've got one even better for you. This is from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, a TV show. An episode called The Gang Gets Quarantined. This show takes place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, right? When a severe flu outbreak sweeps Philadelphia, the gang voluntarily quarantines themselves inside of Patty's. That's a bar in the show. This show it just got renewed for like another 3 seasons, which is going to make it the longest live-action comedy show on cable television. And you see when this aired? About this time last year. So let me get this straight. On one of the most popular, successful cable television comedy shows of all time, around this time last year, they air an episode about a virus outbreaking into a city on the East Coast, causing it to become quarantined. So then that was October 2013 when they aired this episode about that. And now let's look at one of the headlines from this week, a year later. Weird. Mandatory quarantine, New York, New Jersey. That is one big coincidence. Here's that quarantine word again. Will be quarantined. Isn't that crazy? Man. These guys, I wonder if they realize how coincidental this is. Either that or they're doing it on purpose. People can't handle this stuff. It's crazy, man. You take this stuff to your family and friends and show this to them, it's just one big coincidence. That's scary to me, man. Let's look and see if we can have, since we're talking about solar eclipses and predictive programming and subliminal messaging. Let's take a look and see if we can find any kind of occultic crap in this story. You know, like references to Saturn or Satan or any of those 369 numbers, because we're on the 369 system of pain, right? 3 for Saturn, 6 for the sun, 9 for the moon. That's why Tesla said if you could unlock the secrets of the 369, you can understand the universe or whatever. Let's see. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, look. He had contact with at least 3 people. Well, that's pretty funny. That was quick. Oh, how old is he? 33. Well, there it is right there. That's the really good number. There's your 369 all in one shot. And this is even better. Icing on the cake. He had traveled on the A and L subway lines Wednesday night. Well, isn't that great? Do you know what A and L is? Ale. You know what that is? Ale is Baal. Baal is Bel, and the original name of Saturn was Bel Saturn. So there you go. There's your 369 and Saturn reference right there in one sentence. Wasn't hard at all, was it? It's because they're not hiding this crap, because they know what they're doing. Because no one's going to believe this stuff, just a handful of us. And I'm glad. I'm glad we're awake. At least we're hip to it. Because this couldn't get any more in your face. Couldn't. And since we're talking about predictive programming, because this one came out of nowhere, and I had to say something about it, this is from an episode called Bart of the Future from The Simpsons. And in this episode, it takes place like 10 years in the future, and Lisa Simpson becomes the first female president of the United States, which I'm sure is just some reference to Hillary Clinton, possibly. I don't know, though. Okay? And in this episode, she addresses the nation, and she says this: Lisa, President of the United States, my fellow Americans and voting illegal aliens. My fellow Americans and voting illegal aliens. Wow, that's pretty funny, because you know what came out this week? Washington Post. Could non-citizens decide the November election? It's almost like back in 2008, the Simpsons knew that they were going to open the borders and that illegals were going to vote. Weird. I guess more coincidence. And this is my favorite part of that whole episode. In the speech, Lisa's speech was delivered to 100 million people. What happened to the other 170 million plus people in the country? Yeah, good question. Almost makes you wonder if they were depopulated, if the United States of America gets depopulated. Because that is weird that it's addressed to 100 million people. Because there's, well, what, 350 million in the country now? And back in 2008, I guess it was more like 270 million. Well, that's a big chunk of people missing. Wonder what happened to them. And then last but not least, leave you with this. This is out of Charlotte, North Carolina. WSOC-TV is looking into emergency alert that aired around 8:30 a.m. Friday morning. At WSO-TV is hearing that radio stations broadcasted the message to, along with our sister station in Atlanta, WSB-TV. FEMA said the syndicated radio program inappropriately sent out the tone, and other systems picked it up and passed it along. WSOC-TV was the only Charlotte TV station to receive that tone. So it almost makes you wonder if something's going to happen in that area. Because why was Charlotte the one and only station that picked up some sort of FEMA emergency alert message? It's pretty weird, I thought anyway. So I'll put these links below. Thank you to everybody for watching as always, and I thank you for the continued support from my teammates and subs. All right, bye.